Good morning. Today we are starting with Unit 1, that is diversity in the living world. We know that biology is the science of different life forms and living organisms, and the living organisms they comprises of different uh, features. So early man he could not easily find out the difference between inanimate and animate matter, but he later on some living organisms, and then he came across, and a common feature of all such life forms of the inanimate and animate objects that gave the sense of fear earlier. But the description of living organisms, including human beings, that made in the human history, and the societies which indulge in anthropocentric view of the biology, they could register how later on in the biological knowledge. So in this unit, we'll be studying chapter 1, the living world, chapter 2, biological classification, chapter 3, plant kingdom, and chapter 4, animal kingdom. Inanimate matter. So, inanimate matter is generally the non living matter that we come across. Animate matter is the living matter that we are studying. So, in the different anthropogenic view of the biology, it was there was a limited progress in the biological knowledge. Later on, systematics and description of life forms that was brought in, and that gives the necessary details regarding the identification, nomenclature, and classification of the organisms. And the biggest achievement in such studies is the recognition of the sharing of the similarities among the living organisms, both horizontally and vertically. This all and the present day living organisms, they are related to each other and also to all organisms that ever lived on this earth, was a revelation that humbled man and led to the cultural movement for the conservation of biodiversity. So, in the following chapters of this unit, we'll be getting the description, including classification of animals, plants from the taxonomic perspective. Ernest Mayr. He was born in 5th July 1904 in Kempten, Germany, and the Harvard University evolutionary biologist who have been called as the Darwin of the 20th century. It was one of the 100 greatest scientists of all time, and Mayr joined Harvard's Faculty of Arts and Science in 1953 and retired in 1975. Assuming the title Alexandra Agassiz Professor of Zoology Emeritus throughout his early 80 years career, his research spanned ornithology, taxonomy, geography, evolution, systematics, and the history and philosophy of biology. He almost single handedly made the origin of species diversity the central question of evolutionary biology that it is today. He also pioneered the currently accepted definition of a biological species. He was awarded three prizes, widely awarded as the Triple Crown of Biology: the Balzan Prize in 1983 and the International Prize for Biology in 1994. He died at the age of 100 years in 2004. So let's begin with the chapter 1 of unit 1, that is living world. We know that how wonderful is the living world. There are a wide range of living types which are there. There are extraordinary habitats in which we find the living organisms. They can be in the cold mountains, they can be in the forest, oceans, water, lakes, hot springs. That just leaves us speechless. So the beauty of a galloping horse, of the migrating birds, the valley of flowers, or attacking shark, that gives a deep sense of wonder. And the ecological conflict and cooperation among the members of a population and among populations of a community, or even the molecular traffic inside a cell, makes us deeply reflect upon what is indeed is life. So the question that has its two implicit questions within. The first is a technical one and seeks answer to what living is, as opposed to non-living. And the second is philosophical one, that seeks answer to what the purpose of life is. So as a scientist, we shall attempt answering the second question. We shall try to reflect on what is living. So what is living? When we try to define living, we look for distinct characteristics of the living organisms, that is growth, reproduction, ability to sense the environment, and to suitable response that comes to our mind immediately as a unique feature of the living organisms. We can add more features like metabolism, ability to replicate, self-organize, interact, are all the characteristic feature of the living organisms. All living organisms grow. They increase in the mass, increase in the number of individuals. These are the two characteristics of growth. A multicellular organism also grows by cell division. In plants, the growth by cell division occurs continuously throughout their lifespan, and in animals, this growth is even up to a certain age. But cell division occurs in certain tissues to replace the lost cells, and unicellular organisms, they grow by cell division. Reproduction is a characteristic of living organisms. In multicellular organisms, reproduction refers to the production of the progeny possessing features more or less similar to those of the parents. Then organisms, they reproduce by asexual means also. Fungi multiply and spread easily due to the millions of the asexual spores they produce, like yeast and hydra. We also observe budding in planaria. Flatworms, we observe regeneration, and a fragmented organism regenerates the lost part of the body and becomes a new organism. So different modes of reproduction we find in living organisms. Like examples we can find in planaria, fungi, or in algae. There are different modes of reproduction is seen. Now in the moss Protonema, we also see a different method of reproduction after fragmentation, like in unicellular organisms like bacteria, algae, or amoeba. There is a synonym with the growth, that is the increase in the number of cells. Growth is also equivalent to increase in the number of cell or mass we notice in single cell organisms, and we also see growth and reproduction. There are many organisms which do not reproduce also, like mules or sterile worker bees, infertile humans, and hence reproduction also cannot be all defining characteristic of the living organism. Then another characteristic of life is metabolism. All living organisms, they are made of chemicals, and these chemicals, small or big, they belong to various sections, sizes, functions, and they are also in the category of biomolecules, and they undergo various metabolic reactions. There are thousands of metabolic reactions which are occurring inside the living organisms, and these can be catabolism or anabolism. And the non-living objects, they exhibit metabolism. Metabolic reactions they can be demonstrated outside the body in cell-free systems also. So metabolic reactions outside the body of an organism when performed in a test tube is neither living or non-living. Hence, metabolism is a defining feature of all living organisms without exception. So cellular organization of the body is the defining feature of the life forms. So cellular organization of the body is the defining feature of the life forms. The most obvious is the complicated feature of all living organisms is the ability to sense their environment or respond to their environmental cues, and it can be physical, chemical, or biological. We can sense our environment through our sense organs. Consciousness therefore becomes the defining property of the living organisms. So when it comes to human beings, it is all more difficult to define the living state. We observe patients lying in the coma in the hospitals. They are supported by machines which replace heart and lungs, and the patient is otherwise brain dead. So the patient who has no self consciousness are such patients who never come back to their normal life. They are living or non-living. So this is a question which arises. So living organisms, they are self-replicating, evolving and self-regulating interactive systems which are capable of responding to the external stimuli.